Vanakkam, Dr. Tharoor. Welcome to Tamil
Vanakkam to
Nadu.
you. Good to see you. Thank you.
How is Tamil Nadu treating you so far?
So far, it's been too brief, but it's always lovely to be here. I'm very fond of Chennai, one of my favorite cities, and the people of Tamil Nadu are so warm and hospitable.
And you've had nice things to say about Tamil Nadu, Tamil people, and Tamil culture in many of your books.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan. You know, there is so much to admire here. It's the oldest language in India. It's one of the most extraordinarily rich literary
Oldest
cultures.
in the world, in fact.
I think probably amongst the oldest in the world. Certainly, it has a very literary culture. So as a writer, I have that admiration. When you think of how old, for example, Tiruvallur's sayings are and so on, and how brilliant they are, when you look at the way in which so much of what matters in our history and culture have come from Tamil Nadu, one has to feel admiration.
Before we talk about your electoral process, tell us what can the state of Tamil Nadu and the people of Tamil Nadu expect from your presidency, Congress presidency?
Well, first of all, I think they will be happy to see a national revival of the party. In Tamil Nadu, the party is doing well in alliance with the DMK, but in many parts of the country, we are unfortunately in the doldrums. And the time has come to infuse a new spirit, a new energy into the party. That's what my campaign is about.
The race has gotten interesting with your contest. Why did you choose to contest?
I'll be very honest with you. I felt that, you know, there were so many people who were sort of muttering to me behind backs of the leadership about their discontent, who didn't feel able to say so publicly. Some of us wrote a letter urging that some matters be attended to.
The so-called G23.
Yeah, I don't really like that name that was invented by the media. It was a couple of seniors who wrote the letter. They invited us to sign. They said they'd spoken to about 100 people, but because of the COVID lockdown, not everybody could come to Delhi. So those of us who happened to be around signed it, but there was a widespread sentiment in the party. However, that didn't go anywhere. As you know, some of the principal signatories left the party altogether. Then when you look at what's going on elsewhere in the country, you can see that a serious effort is afoot, as it were, to support a movement for change and reform in a constructive sense. No one is being hostile to the Congress ideology or the Congress leadership. They're simply saying we want things to be done in a different way. And I have somehow become the voice of those people who want things to be done.
An agent of change.
An agent of change, you're quite right. I am the candidate of change in this election. So I don't want to do this for any other purpose but to make the Congress party more fit as a fighting machine to take on the BJP, which is already a very formidable machinery. So if we are completely reorganized, regrouped, energetic and raring to go, I believe we will be better equipped to take on the BJP than otherwise.
How confident are you about the integrity of the elections? How free and fair could it be?
I understand where your question is coming from because others have been raising these questions. Look, I start off by saying that if you want to play a game of cricket, you accept the pitch that you have been provided. And I am playing within the rules laid down by the establishment of the Congress party. But on the whole, I think given the fact that we've had no election for 20 years, it's rather commendable that we've even got so much of progress. And I must congratulate Mr. Mistry and his team for having put together a procedure which I think satisfies most yardsticks of fairness. For example, it's a secret ballot. He has said that people have to have a serial number to be able to be given a ballot to vote, but the ballot itself will contain no serial number or any other identifying mark. When you put the ballot into the box, that box at the end of the day is sealed with the seal of Mr. Mistry's signature. And it will only be opened in Delhi in front of the candidates on counting day, which is 2 days later, the 19th. And it will be opened and all the ballots will be mixed together so that no one will really be able to know who voted for whom. So it's a genuinely secret ballot and a fair process in that way. And I welcome that because that is the only way in which we can be truly sure that voters can go and exercise their rights to franchise without feeling intimidated, especially since, as we heard from the press today in Tamil Nadu, some people have indeed been given very misleading information that there is
an organizational candidate.
Exactly, and that somehow I'm some sort of dangerous rebel association with me will bring adverse consequences.
Are you fully convinced about the neutrality of the Gandhis in this process?
Look, I trust the word of my party chief. Mrs. Gandhi has led the Congress party for a quarter of a century. She doesn't need to lie to people like me. When she said, I am not going to put forward an official candidate, I am neutral, my family is neutral, and I encourage you to contest. A contest is good for the party. I think she meant it, and frankly, the contest has turned out to be good for the party.
Why not
because of the attention all of you have paid. I don't think there has been so much a positive press about the Congress in many, many years, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So that is itself an indication that the election has actually strengthened the Congress party.
Why not make the neutrality public?
They have. They've authorized the Chief Election Authority, Mr. Mistry, to say this, and he has said it.
But they have not said so. Mrs. Gandhi, Mrs. Priyanka Gandhi,
I mean,
Mr. Rahul
they don't
Gandhi.
normally speak much to the press themselves. I have encouraged them to consider doing so, but they feel that, first of all, they got the spokesman to say so. Secondly, they got Mr. Mistry to say so. Third, Mr. Mistry has issued a directive which is quite unambiguous, which not only says that there is no official candidate, but he forbids office bearers of the party from endorsing one. He says that if the office bearers...
in fact, in your home state of Kerala.
I think there have been perhaps some missteps on the part of some PCC presidents or CLP leaders before the directive was received. The directive from Mr. Mistry was dated the 3rd. The election process was underway after the 30th. So there were 2 or 3 days in which perhaps statements were made that would not have been made if the directive had come a little earlier.
Mr. Ramesh Chennithala is campaigning for Mr. Kharge.
He's not an office bearer. He's a former office bearer, so he has his rights to do that.
Have leaders from Tamil Nadu reached out to you? Have they assured you of their support?
I've spoken to a lot of leaders, and I've spoken to a lot of ordinary delegates. I don't think it's fair to name them. Don't forget, every individual delegate, whether a leader or whether ordinary worker, has a vote of the same value, and they're entitled to their own opinion. I don't expect anyone to unanimously like me, and I don't expect that any electorate will unanimously like Mr. Kharge. I think there will be a division of votes, and it's only fair. So I don't think it's fair for me to express any preferences that were told to me, because by definition, in a secret ballot, no one needs to know how you or I vote. We have the right to vote, we vote. That's it. What was encouraging from the Congress's point of view was the rather large number of people coming in off the street who are, after all, voters in the general elections, but who say that they have not supported the Congress in the past. They only came because they knew I would be there. That is part of the appeal that I have been able to offer the Congress. A lot of people who asked me to put forward my candidacy did so precisely because of this. They said, you will be able to attract voters to the Congress party who did not vote before to the Congress party, or who have not voted for the last couple of elections for the Congress party. So that was the reason they said, please come in, because you attract these votes. That was the reason why I was where I am today, when so many people publicly announced that they were there because of their support or admiration for me, even though they themselves don't have a vote in this presidential election. It's a message to the party that there are voters willing to come only because of me. And that I'm very happy to convey that message.
Do you expect the Gandhis to vote for you?
I will ask every congressperson, including them, to cast their vote in my favor. But I would leave it to them to exercise their own conscience.
What role do you expect them to play in your administration under your presidency?
Look, I think it's very clear that the Gandhi family is a major asset to the Congress party. And any president, me or anyone else, would be foolish to in any way distance themselves from such a major asset. If you look at the Bharat Jodo Yatra that's going on now, the adulation and admiration Rahul Gandhi commands, the large numbers, tens of thousands of people at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, coming to cheer him, to see him, to applaud him, then you realize that there is still a great hold that the Gandhi family has on the affection and the loyalties of the Indian public. At least what we have seen in both Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and now in Karnataka suggests to me that this is an asset for the Congress party, and we should urge them to please stay involved, even if they don't want the presidency of the party.
In your presidency, where will the buck stop? With you or with the Gandhis?
No, listen, I mean, obviously it depends on the issue concerned, because the Gandhis will have to define their role in the party in consultation with the president. I'm sure they will. But it seems to me that
as the president, will you define it, or will you?
The president has responsibilities under the constitution of the Congress party, And there seems to be no provision in the Constitution for the President to report to anyone else.
But this leads to a concern that this could lead to a dual leadership, a dual power
No,
center.
that must be avoided. I think an intelligent approach would be to synthesize the work of both and for each to mutually support the other. I think certainly, for example, this election is over in 20 days. That is,
Correct.
today it's 10 days from now that the voting will start. Whereas the Bharat Jodo Yatra will go on for 150 days. So very clearly, Rahul Gandhi will go through the country for much longer than the question of who the president will be to be settled. Now, if that president is me, I would myself very much want to have a conversation with him, with the outgoing president, and with the Gandhi family as a whole, as to how best they would like to relate to the party under my presidency. And that's something which we would have to do, in my view, in a very consultative and a friendly spirit, because no family has done more for the Congress party than they have. Their blood is literally mingled in the DNA of the Congress for the last 100 years, and I would not want in any way to separate myself from the extraordinary achievements and contributions of the Gandhi family. I'd love them to continue, but we will see how they want to do it. They should have defined their own role.
There are voices like Mr. Chidambaram's who suggest that, irrespective of who was the Congress president, Rahul Gandhi will continue to be the leader of the party. Will this not lead to a dual power structure? Is that healthy for the party?
I've not heard that from Mr. Gandhi. I've heard that from Mr. Chidambaram, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Chidambaram. He has his own analysis. I believe similar things have been said by other leaders. But if I were to be the president, I would certainly want to find out how much truth there is in this kind of approach. Look, my own view is if Rahul Gandhi wanted to run the Congress party, he didn't need to go through an election for it. He was already appointed in November 2017 for 5 years. And so he could have withdrawn his letter of resignation any time after he submitted it, and the working committee would have, with great gratitude,
The criticism is
taken
he
it back.
enjoys power without accountability, and he will continue to do so.
Look, I think that's a kind of criticism that the media may be entitled to make, but those of us who know him see him as a very sincere individual with a long and indeed a lifelong commitment to the party. So we're sure he will work in the best interests of the
Tell
party.
us frankly,
whatever
Dr.
he does.
Tharoor, if Mr. Rahul Gandhi was in the fray, would you have contested?
I think it would depend very much on when he entered, the circumstances, and so on. Because, look, I was brought into politics by Sonia Gandhi. We had met when I was at the United Nations. I had kept in touch, and it was she who said, would you like to contest in the elections of 2009? And at that time, Rahul Gandhi was a general secretary. He was not vice president or president, but he too was very supportive. And I had met him too in a different context when, as a UN official, I addressed a group of young leaders from around the world, and he was there. So we have a friendly relationship, and I don't see myself in any way as an adversarial contender. I see myself as somebody who serves in the Congress party, who has come in at their invitation, and I would like to work with them even if my role changes to it.
In fact, you've called this a friendly contest.
Yeah. And when I say friendly contest, it's because there really is no bitterness or enmity or even ideological difference between the candidates. Mr. Kharge is somebody who, very frankly, I have worked with, I have worked under in the Lok Sabha when he was my leader from 14 to 19. He is somebody I've known for a long time. In fact, he did me the honor when he turned 80 a couple of months ago. He invited me to write a tribute for him to be published in such a book. And I was very happy to do that because, to my mind, he's one of our great leaders with 9 election victories in Karnataka, which I think is a record. He had 2 victories in the Lok Sabha. Somebody with an amazing sort of story, a personal story of achievement from his youth as a labor leader, rising up. And he's a good advertisement.
On the contrary, people call you a political lightweight.
Maybe somebody who is heavier should have entered the fray. But given that at the moment we are the only 2 contenders, we can be considered to be fighting in the same category.
What reforms do you propose to take as a Congress?
So I published a manifesto, which I did on the day of the nomination. And I said in the manifesto that there are there's a 10-point agenda. I won't go through all the 10 points, but the key issues are to decentralize authority in the party, to empower people at the grassroots level, to decentralize power away from AICC headquarters to the states, to revive some of the institutions in the Congress Constitution which have been dormant, like the Parliamentary Board or elections to the Working Committee, to implement the proposals of the Udaipur Declaration earlier this year, which included 50% of tickets to those under 50, term limits for party positions, more representation
one person,
of women,
one position,
one person, one post, one party post, and so on. That, to my mind, is
ending the high command culture.
Well, the words were not used in my manifesto, but when a journalist expressed it that way, I said I don't disagree. But what I meant by that was not that anything against the present occupants of that designation, but rather that we should not get into the point where everything is decided in Delhi. We've even developed this habit of PCCs passing one-line resolutions saying we entrust the decision.
Are the Gandhis not to blame?
Look, a culture has evolved in the party, everyone complicit in it, from those who proposed such resolutions to those who voted for them. Everyone has a responsibility for what happened and how it happened.
One of the observations is both the candidates are South Indians. How will you appeal to the Hindi heartland, which continues to be the BJP bastion?
True. Well, first of all, within this Congress election, I have to appeal to the Hindi heartland because the largest number of our delegates is also from there. And I've been doing so in Hindi. I've been giving Hindi interviews and speeches, and I will be going to the Hindi-speaking states and speaking to people in the course of this very short campaign. I know there is a sort of canard being spread that I'm so-called English Anglophone elite, and I'm not somebody who can speak to people in Hindi. Well, that's not true. I've actually done it in the past, and I frequently ask for sound bites in Hindi when I come out of Parliament during our sessions. So I'm surprised this charge can be leveled with any degree of conviction, because there's plenty of evidence on YouTube of my speaking Hindi. But in any case, I'll do more of it.
The overwhelming perception is otherwise. That you're an elite, a Tharoorian, English-speaking.
That's the image that has been built up, and not by me. But it's all right, because at the same time, I am very happy to be a voice of the aspirational Indian. I too came from a humble middle-class family. My father was a salaried professional. I don't have any great political pedigree in my past. I came in, and through study and hard work, I reached where I was able to reach in the United Nations. I came from that career into India. I was offered a role in Indian politics. I didn't come in as a parachute candidate into the Rajya Sabha. I had to fight for the Lok Sabha
Twice.
3 times. I have won 3 elections in the Lok Sabha, and therefore I think it's a bit preposterous to caricature me as an elite candidate. I have had to show absolute contact with ordinary voters in order to be elected, and in my life I have had very good experiences which were not what one might call elite experiences, and to this day I'm proud of the fact I don't disown any of my less fortunate family members or anything like that. We are all one family, and we are all one party. I'm proud to work with party workers of every background, and I don't think anyone who has worked with me in Thiruvananthapuram or in my office in Delhi or seen me in Parliament will ever tell you that I behave in a way that suggests any sort of elite affectation. I am who I am with everyone, and I behave this way when I'm also on the stump in my constituency.
While we speak about the appeal to the Hindi heartland, Tamil Nadu's concern is the opposite.
Exactly.
It's very concerned about the language policy of the All India parties. I believe your language policy is very close to the sentiments of the Tamil people.
Very much so. See, I believe that the Tamil people are absolutely justified in protecting their own language and their own heritage. But more important, the whole issue of a so-called national language gets tied into the way in which the central government, the union government, relates to the citizens of India. Now, the present BJP government has tried to encourage, not just encourage, but make compulsory the use of Hindi for all government business, the use of Hindi in communications, the use of Hindi in file notations, and so on. Now, this is very satisfying to the section of the population who have been hearing and speaking Hindi in their mother's lap since they were born. So Sharma and Singh and Shukla will be very happy. But what about Subramaniam, and what about Menon, and what about Reddy?
In your words, English puts everybody at the same advantage and disadvantage.
Exactly. In the old days, all of these characters had to learn and pass English as the language of administration. It was useful for them to know the language of their own state. So if they're working in UP or Bihar, they must know Hindi. If they're working in Tamil Nadu, they must know Tamil. It's as simple as that. But the truth is that when they are actually people who are working in the government, they must understand that anything they do should give no disability to people who don't understand their language. So you know that there have been so many episodes where a letter written to the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu in Hindi was replied to in Tamil and so on. We need to get away from
Also
it.
to the Chief Minister of West Bengal.
And West Bengal was replied to in Bengali, and to Kerala, I think at one point was replied to in Malayalam. I think we need to get beyond this and say, look, it's okay. We will communicate with each other in a language that may not be the first language for either of us, but we both understand.
You still believe English should continue as the link language?
I think it is a very indispensable link language. In fact, Rajaji had made this point already 70 years ago when this debate first came up. He said that, you know, this is not a question of anti-colonial thing. The English is a language of convenience for Indians. This is not a time for us to get into sort of rhetoric about, you know, foreign and Indian. So English has become an Indian language because we use it. It's convenient for us, and it knits our country together because we all speak it. I mean, I could not have done this interview with you in Tamil, right? So we need a language which we can both understand and which can therefore help us to communicate.
Despite BJP's agenda, don't you think the Prime Minister means well? He takes the efforts to communicate to people in Tamil and Tamil Nadu, in Malayalam and Kerala. And don't you think it's genuine?
No, I think it's an important gesture, especially coming from a BJP leader, given that the BJP has, unfortunately, a Hindi-first policy.
Vajpayee has not done that. Advani has not done that.
And what is more, even as recently as this year, a BJP MP stood up in Parliament and said that Hindi should be declared the national language, and the DMK and the Congress walked out in protest in the Lok Sabha. So given that that's the case, to make a gesture like this is good, but the truth remains that, I think in all fairness, we appreciate that while the gesture is there, Mr. Modi cannot communicate effectively in Tamil, and nor should we expect him to. He's a Gujarati who speaks Hindi. He doesn't have the ability to speak Tamil other than to read the words written out for him in a script he knows, whether the Hindi script or the Gujarati script. And that's fine. There's nothing to be embarrassed about that. I think, as you said, the gesture is a fine gesture. What we are saying is, let the people of Tamil Nadu study in Tamil, let the people of Gujarat study in Gujarati, but let them also have English as a language that they can both easily relate to and use professionally, use in the courts, use in the union government, use in communications at a national level, use in other areas where you're working with people of other states. That would be the best way forward.
The BJP
Look, one day this problem may be solved by artificial intelligence. I was in IIT Madras, and the director was telling me they're working on artificial intelligence to translate automatically into all the Indian languages.
I see.
So that if you want to say something to me in Tamil, artificial intelligence will render it to me in one of the languages I know so I can hear it, and then I can respond to you. Those days are still some distance away. Until then, let everybody continue with their own languages.
The BJP asked, why not a 3-language formula in Tamil Nadu?
Well, I think the Tamil Nadu government answered, why not a 2-language policy? Because frankly, the 3-language policy is a bit hypocritical of the northern states. Since I don't know any northern state which teaches a southern language. The 3-language policy was supposed to be the local language, English, and a third language which ideally should be from a different part of the country. So if where the local language is Hindi, they should be teaching a South Indian language. And where the local language is South Indian language, the expectation they would teach Hindi. But the problem is, it became one-sided. All the southern states, in Kerala, for example, the 3-language formula is Malayalam, English, and Hindi. But in UP or in Bihar, the 3-language formula is Hindi, English, and Sanskrit. So there is no one learning Tamil or Malayalam or anything else.
Without that, the 3-language formula is meaningless.
That's the point. So may as well continue, as Tamil Nadu says, with a meaningful 2-language policy.
Tamil Nadu's disappointment with your national leadership, it turns a blind eye to interstate issues.
Well, this I don't think is a fair criticism, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't. In fact, just about 10 days ago, or less than that, I was in Hyderabad for a discussion on precisely this issue, organized by a group called South First, which brought together Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister, PTR, the Andhra Finance Minister, Mr. Bugala Reddy, and the Minister from Telangana, KTR, and me, in a discussion on precisely the question of federalism and interstate relations. And you know, everyone has been very careful not to talk about it for fear of being accused of wanting to break up the country or sedition or whatever. But this is not that. This is talking about how we organize the relationships with each other and with the center in a way that's fair and equitable. And there are some very important issues coming up, such as the lapsing of the 91st Amendment in 2026, which will completely change the balance in Lok Sabha representation between the Hindi belt states, whose populations have gone up, and the southern states. And you don't want to create a situation where the southern states,
punish
which
us
are
for
doing well,
reducing the
feel
population.
punished. They should not feel that they're being punished for their development.
Can we expect neutrality, say for instance, on the issue of Mulla Periyar?
Now, that's an issue between two southern states. So
As
we
a
can't
Congress
blame the
president,
Hindiwalas
would you
for
do
this.
justice when injustice is meted out to a state? When a state blatantly violates a judgment?
Now, in the case of Mulla Periyar, what the Kerala position has been is that they're extremely worried about inundation in the event that the Mulla Periyar dam, which is over 100 years old, cracks. And they're willing to build at Kerala's expense a new dam that would serve the same purpose and move the same waters down to Tamil Nadu and then decommission and break down the old dam. That's all the Kerala position.
The expert commission has ruled it as safe.
How long can it remain safe? See, the worry is not just for today and tomorrow. There are literally 1 million people whose lives and homes and property would be destroyed if that dam bursts. That's the main danger involved.
Say, for instance, on Kaveri issue, when the state of Karnataka wants to build a Mekadatu project, the national leadership is a mute spectator. He doesn't take a position.
No, I think our position, I'm fairly sure, my position certainly as an individual congressman, was that there should be an arbitration procedure involving both sides. Look, I think our differences can be
But there is a
resolved.
final judgment which is very unambiguous, and there is a blatant violation. And should a national leadership not take a position? This is wrong.
If there is a final judgment, then certainly one should work towards moving it. But if the judgment is an interim one or has been appealed, you do understand that other concerns also come in.
There was a final order
A
in
party
2007.
like the Congress, which is not a state party but a national party, and therefore has a presence everywhere, cannot truly afford to take sides. In fact, we have congressmen in Tamil Nadu, we have congressmen in Kerala, and in both cases, we want everyone to get along and find an amicable solution. But you can understand the strong feelings on one side or the other, and that's why the national leadership has to be very careful in the stand it takes.
Tamil Nadu has certain unique demands and positions, such as the demand for exception from NEET, a more Tamil-centric approach when it comes to the Sri Lankan issue. How accommodative will you be of the Tamil sentiments?
Very strongly so, because in fact, in many ways, when a position is well-founded and reasonably argued, it becomes indispensable to lend a sympathetic ear to it. For example, on the NEET issue, one of the questions that could well be asked is, why could we not have those medical students who intend to graduate from Tamil language, Tamil state institutions and work and practice in Tamil Nadu, why can't they take a state examination if that's what they wish to do? Whereas why can't those who want to work nationally, work outside the state, they could take NEET, because that's the only way they can be a national yardstick to judge their skills versus somebody from another state. See, one of the problems in our system has been, and I know this from various other examples unrelated to NEET, that you have a situation where some states' marking is, let's say, much more lenient than some other states' marking. And therefore, comparing, say, 98% from Kerala with 98% from Karnataka and 98% from Rajasthan may not mean the same thing. And therefore, people say, let's have a national exam where there is only one yardstick, one set of answers, right and wrong, and we know, and therefore everybody can be judged on a level playing field. That was how the NEET idea came. Now, we understand Tamil Nadu's problem, that there are biases in the examination that are skewed in a different direction, and that disfavor particularly students from rural areas in Tamil Nadu and so on, whose not only is their first language Tamil, but they've also studied in Tamil. Why should they not be entitled to become doctors? So the answer there is, if you take your examination in Tamil, take a state examination, study in the state and practice in the state. But if you want to have national ambitions to practice, then I'm afraid you do need to take an exam that will put you on the same plane as everybody else taking that exam. That's all.
You ask us to meet you midway.
Don't you think that that's the best way forward in most problems? I think at this stage, those Tamil doctors who don't take NEET are suffering an unnecessary disability. And that's why there's so much agitation and stress. Let's see if we can find a compromise solution.
As the Congress president, will you seek to strengthen your ties with the DMK?
Look, I have very warm and affectionate relations with those DMK leaders I do know. And I think the Congress party in Tamil Nadu will guide us as to whether they want those relations deepened or strengthened or amplified in any way. But at this stage, I don't want the Congress presidential election to be an occasion for rocking the boat when something is going very well. Let it go very well. We'll talk in the future.
Will you seek to explore other alliance partners?
I don't necessarily see the need, but once again, I would want to be guided. Remember, my message is decentralization, empower the state leadership. Let the state leadership talk to the new president if they want anything to be different.
There are certain vital differences between you two parties, such as the release of Rajiv Gandhi's convicts, which is very near and dear to the Congress party. Where do you stand on this matter?
Look, on this matter, I would say that because there's a human element involved, I would be guided by the wishes and feelings of the Gandhi family above all. You know, the whole nation suffered a loss. It was not just a family's loss. But two people lost their father, one person lost her husband. I think their views should be respected more than anyone else.
Rahul Gandhi has publicly said he has forgiven those people.
That may be your answer. But I don't want to take a stand independent of whatever the stand is of the Gandhi family.
Is 2024 a done deal?
I don't believe so. And I've explained to you that if you look at the reality that Mr. Modi has come to power with only 37% of the vote last time and 31% of the vote the time before, there are some obvious things we can do to change that. One thing we can do definitely is to make common cause with like-minded parties. We could possibly do that on a national level, a Mahagathbandhan, or if that were not possible, if we could not find a common minimum program to agree on, we could make state-by-state arrangements, as in some states we already have, such as with the DMK in Tamil Nadu. We could have similar arrangements. We've got a fairly decent relationship now in Bihar with the two parties in alliance there. I think one can explore similar issues. For us, we have a very generous interpretation of the idea of a like-minded party. The party must accept the basic principles of secularism, of social justice, of civil liberties, freedom of the press, all of the freedoms that the Congress party wants to defend. And at the same time, it must have some compassion for the ordinary, what we call the Aam Aadmi of India. These are very strong, non-negotiable principles. We will not accept to be in alliance with a party that, for example, discriminates against minorities. That is not for us the right way to go forward. So given that, I would say we should explore ideas with others, and we might be able to find a common platform big enough that we won't have the division of the votes that caused us so much trouble in the case of the 2019 elections, when 46 parties, some with one member, some with two members, took away the votes that might have come to Congress.
Will you be willing to settle for a junior role in a large alliance?
I don't think that's possible at the national level, because the Congress is by far the only other national party. Not only has it been a natural party of governance, it is also the largest presence. Even where we may be relatively weakened by comparison with the past, we still have officers in every district, we have Congress workers in every village, we have people who historically owe allegiance to the party. That can be revived. I don't see the Congress ever finding the need to play second fiddle to a regional party at the national level. Now, in specific states, on the other hand, I think it may be necessary sometimes for us to acknowledge that for various historic reasons, that we may not be as strong in a particular state, even for a national level election.
At the national level, you will play the leadership role. Is that so?
At the national level, I expect very much that even the other parties will see the Congress as the party with the largest footprint in the country. But you know, you can't sit here in a television studio and give all the answers to discussions that have not yet happened. If indeed we are discussing things with other parties, we have to listen to what they have to say. It's not only about what we think. We have to hear their point of view. We have to give our point of view. There has to be a meeting of the minds. Some accommodation has to be found. I mean, I did come from a world of diplomacy and negotiation. I don't believe in unilateral diktats. I've given you my view that the Congress has a certain special place in our history and in our country. But how we proceed at any stage, we have to discuss with those concerned.
Final few questions. BJP is trying to monopolize nationalism. Will Congress redeem its claim on Indian nationalism?
We are the party of nationalism. We are the party that brought India freedom. We are the party that originally helped define Indian nationalism and helped enshrine the idea of India that is reflected in our constitution. It seems to be preposterous that a party whose heroes were completely absent from the freedom struggle should today claim to don the mantle of nationalism by appropriating the heroic acts of leaders who would have disavowed the ideology of Hindutva and of the BJP. So
There is also
it is something we have to stand against very strongly. I have done so in Parliament and elsewhere, and I will certainly continue doing so in a new role.
There is also a growing perception that Congress is a minority appeasing party.
No, on the contrary, we believe in justice and fairness to all. We want the minorities to be treated just like the majority. We don't want to have one more or the other less. We don't want to appease any section of any. We don't want to appease, as some people were saying, Savarnas or Avarnas or Hindus or Muslims or Christians or Jews. We feel everybody is an Indian. We see everyone as an Indian. That's the principle we stand for.
Some accuse you of being a soft Hindutvavadi.
I find it's quite silly. I've written an entire book,
Yeah.
which I believe you have read,
Why am I
which
Hindu?
explains that why many Hindus do not agree with the ideas of Hindutva. Because we believe in a version of Hinduism, which is the mainstream view of Hinduism, the same version preached by Swami Vivekananda, which was a version in which Hinduism is a large, accommodative religion that respects other faiths, that accepts the differences that exist within the faith and between our faith and other faiths. We are not even just a religion of tolerance of others, we are a religion of acceptance of others. That's what we've been taught, and I've described this in the book. To my mind, that is not soft Hindutva, that is a rejection of Hindutva. It is saying that Hindutva has not understood true Hinduism.
And BJP seeks to expand in the south, in Kerala, Telangana and Tamil Nadu with its mission south. Do you think they will be successful?
So far not, and we hope to keep it that way. In fact, in my constituency, they've come second twice. So I'm very conscious of that threat in Kerala. In Tamil Nadu, next door to Thiruvananthapuram, they've won a seat once in Kanyakumari. So I'm
Many
conscious
times, in
that they're... No, well, in recent years, I think only once.
Mr. Pon Radhakrishnan.
Pon Radhakrishnan, but then he lost the immediate re-election. He lost it to us, to the Congress candidate. So I will say that if you look very seriously, they have ambitions and plans, they have money and they have organization. What they don't have is any appeal to the sentiments of the people, because the people of Kerala don't have the chips on the shoulder that they have in the BJP. We are not anti-Muslim by default. We are not we are not pro-Hindi by default, far from it. We are not, this Hindu-Hindustan idea of the BJP does not sell in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and probably will not sell in Andhra and even much of Telangana either. But they will try, they have the means, they want to try, and we must also have the ability to resist.
You believe South will remain a tough nut for them to crack?
Absolutely, like the Gaulish village in the Asterix comics.
Will there be
we will hold out.
Will there be a prime ministerial candidate for the Congress party in the ensuing elections?
Look, again, you're asking about questions that have to be settled at a much later stage with of course, other parties that may be part of an alliance. Let's wait and see.
But you've advocated a presidential form of
I know,
elections in
but
India.
I've sworn by the Constitution, so I work within the Constitution we have. Dr. Ambedkar too was an advocate of the presidential form, but in the end he settled for the view that the others wanted, and we will have to do that if we are in a system. We work by the rules of that system. As I said, if you're playing cricket, accept the pitch you've got.
Is the next Congress president a potential prime ministerial candidate?
I don't think it's even a relevant question right now. The next Congress president is a candidate for the presidency of the Congress.
He will not be
Let's
a rubber
leave it
stamp?
there. No, I've never really particularly been seen by anybody in any position I've held as a rubber stamp or a caged parrot to any of those other expressions we like to use. I have my own mind, and at the same time, I think I have learned how to work with people who may have a different perspective. That's something that a long career at the United Nations leaves one with, is an awareness that everybody doesn't come to the issues with the same perspective. People have different backgrounds, different interests, and you have to be able to deal with them, find common ground and move forward.
We have come to the end of this interaction. What is your message to the delegates from Tamil Nadu and the people of Tamil Nadu?
So the message to the delegates of Tamil Nadu and the people of Tamil Nadu is the same, with one difference. We want a fit, strong Congress in order to create a fit, strong India to take on the challenges facing us. But the message to delegates is, please come on the 17th of October to Satyamurthy Bhavan PCC headquarters and vote for me, because I do represent change, the possibility of bringing in new voters into the party, and the possibility of putting new energy and new support into this party in order to take back India from the BJP.
All the best, Dr. Tharoor. வாழ்த்துக்கள்.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Vanakkam.